Have you ever wondered if your actions are unknowingly pushing your adult children away? The truth is, emotional distance doesn't happen suddenly. It builds over time through small choices, repeated patterns, and unresolved emotional wounds. Parents who once gave everything to their children can often be shocked to find themselves drifting apart as they grow older. The reality is that adult children don't simply walk away for no reason. Even if the issue has gone unspoken for years, there are underlying causes. In this video, we'll uncover 5 key reasons why adult children may distance themselves, emotionally or physically, from their parents. Some of these might surprise you, others may feel familiar, but all are significant. Recognizing any of these patterns doesn't mean it's too late. It's an opportunity to make changes. Stay with me until the end, because what you'll learn could not only help repair your relationship, but also heal old wounds, improve communication, and create a deeper, lasting connection with your children through all stages of life. Number 1. When support feels one-sided, the impact of unrecognized effort. One of the most painful reasons adult children pull away from their parents is when they begin to feel like their only role in the family is to give, but never to receive. Over time, this imbalance can create emotional distance. Support can come in many forms. It could be emotional. Your child listens to your struggles, comforts you when you're down, or helps you work through challenging memories. Or it could be practical. They assist with appointments, help you navigate technology, or take care of paperwork. It might even be financial, covering bills, paying for meals, or helping with other household needs. At first, they give out of love, a genuine desire to help. But when their contributions go unacknowledged, unthanked, or even worse, become expected, this dynamic shifts. What once felt like an act of love starts to feel more like an obligation, and that shift can be hard to reverse. Take the case of Walter, an 82-year-old man who relied heavily on his daughter for support. She would come by 3 times a week to help him with his medications and appointments. But one day, after a particularly long week at work, she asked if she could skip a visit to rest. Walter's response was, "I guess I'll just figure it out myself like always." She didn't say anything at that moment, but inside, something began to change. Slowly, that small shift began to grow into emotional distance. Not because she didn't care, but because every visit felt like a job she couldn't leave behind. The reality is that even the most loving child will eventually start to withdraw if they begin to feel invisible in the relationship. When their time, effort, and sacrifices are seen as a given rather than a gift, it starts to feel less like love and more like a duty. No one wants to feel used, and when adult children sense their help is being taken for granted, it's only a matter of time before they either cut back on their support or stop offering it altogether. This doesn't mean you shouldn't ask for help, but it does mean you should always show gratitude. A simple "thank you" can go a long way in showing that you truly value what they're doing for you. Let them know that their help is seen, appreciated, and not taken for granted. And wherever possible, look for ways to give back too. You may not be able to offer financial or physical support, but you can still offer emotional encouragement, wisdom, and warmth. In a healthy relationship, support should be mutual no matter how old you are. Each person's needs and contributions are valued equally. When both parties feel seen and appreciated, the relationship grows stronger. Number 2. The dangers of constant criticism and a negative tone. It's rare for adult children to distance themselves from their parents because of a single, explosive argument. More often than not, the growing gap between them and their parents is the result of countless small comments, repeated criticisms, and a subtle yet constant stream of negativity that slowly wears them down. What might not seem harsh to you can feel like a constant judgment to them. You might think that you're offering honest, helpful advice, but what sounds like concern can feel like a harsh critique to your child. For example, saying things like, "You really should lose a little weight," or "I wouldn't raise my kids like that," or "Why do you always make such poor choices?" These comments might come from a place of caring, but for your adult children, they might begin to feel as if they can never do anything right. When someone constantly feels like they're being judged, they stop showing up as their true selves. They stop sharing their lives openly. They begin to hide parts of themselves, to edit their own stories, and before long they pull away altogether. Not because they don't love you, but because they feel exhausted by the weight of criticism. I recall a conversation with Thomas, a 65-year-old father, whose son had completely stopped visiting. "I just want what's best for him," Thomas said, trying to explain his actions. However, upon closer inspection, it became clear that nearly every interaction between them ended with a critique, whether it was about his son's job, his haircut, or even how he loaded the dishwasher. The son didn't feel supported or loved. He felt like everything he did was being judged and reviewed. Negativity doesn't always have to be loud or confrontational to be harmful. Sometimes, it lives in the way we speak, in the pauses before we respond, or in the subtle tone of, "Well, I never would have done it that way." These small things, over time, can erode trust and create emotional distance. Your child may feel like they're constantly falling short, like nothing they do can ever be good enough. It's important to note that offering your opinion or sharing your thoughts doesn't inherently cause harm. It's natural to have thoughts and preferences. But when your first response is criticism, especially if it's cloaked in the guise of tough love, don't be surprised if your child starts to withdraw. They aren't doing it to punish you. They're doing it to protect themselves from the emotional toll of feeling constantly inadequate. Here's the good news. This is one of the easiest patterns to change. It starts with awareness. Pay attention to how you respond initially. If your first instinct is negative, take a pause. Ask yourself, is this response helpful? Is it kind? Is it necessary at this moment? Try shifting your tone. Instead of saying, "That's a bad decision," try saying, "That sounds like a tough situation. How do you feel about it?" Instead of, "You need to do better," offer something like, "I'm really proud of how hard you're trying." You'd be surprised at the difference a simple change in language can make. No adult child expects perfection from their parents. What they truly crave is peace and acceptance. They want to feel that they are loved, even if they're not doing things exactly the way you would. In the end, the words you use can either invite your child in or make them feel like they need to keep their distance. Make sure that your words are ones they want to come home to, words that help them feel safe, loved, and accepted. If you're still here and finding these insights valuable, I'd love to hear from you. Please comment number 2 below to let me know you're with me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to do so and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. Your support helps us keep creating content that informs and inspires. Now let's continue. Number 3. Lack of emotional support or validation. Another common reason adult children may begin to distance themselves is when they feel emotionally neglected or unsupported. Emotional connection is essential, and when a child reaches adulthood, they still need their parents to be there for them, not just physically but emotionally as well. Perhaps it's been a while since you've really checked in on how they're feeling or asked them about their lives beyond the surface level. Maybe you've been so focused on your own issues or routines that you haven't noticed when they needed emotional support. You may think that because they're adults now, they no longer need you in the same way. But the truth is, your adult children still need to feel heard, understood, and supported by you, especially as they navigate the challenges of adulthood, career pressures, or personal struggles. Emotional availability isn't about offering solutions or advice all the time, it's about showing up and being present. It's about listening without judgment, offering a shoulder to lean on, and making them feel like they're not alone. When children feel like their emotional well-being is secondary to other concerns, they begin to withdraw, not out of anger but out of self-preservation. If you find your child pulling away, ask yourself, have I been emotionally available? Have I shown interest in their feelings and struggles? Have I offered them a space to express themselves without feeling criticized or dismissed? It's never too late to begin being more emotionally present for your adult children. A simple act of empathy, like saying, "I'm here for you no matter what," can go a long way in rebuilding trust and deepening the emotional connection you share. Number 4. Failing to acknowledge the past and take responsibility for hurt. Sometimes, the quietest distance between parents and adult children is the result of unresolved pain from the past, pain that was never acknowledged. It's not always about what's happening in the present. Often, it's rooted in memories that weren't fully addressed years ago. Maybe it was the way discipline was handled when they were young. Maybe it was a comment that stuck with them long after it was said, something that wounded them deeply. Or perhaps it was how you treated their other parents or how you responded when they needed you most. You might not even remember the moment. It may have seemed insignificant at the time, or you may have felt justified in your actions. You might have thought they had moved on. But here's a hard truth. If your child carries that pain with them and you continue to act as if it was never there, they will eventually begin to pull away, not out of a lack of love, but because they've lost hope that you'll ever see the hurt they carry. This isn't about assigning blame, it's about taking responsibility. Because nothing will push an adult child further away than dismissing their pain, whether with comments like, "You're too sensitive," or, "That's just how it was back then." Ignoring or belittling past hurts doesn't make them disappear. All it does is add another layer of pain, the pain of feeling unheard, of having their feelings minimized. I recall a conversation with Robert, a 73-year-old father who couldn't understand why his son had stopped calling. "He has no reason to be distant," Robert would say. But when I asked him if they had ever talked about the shouting that occurred during his son's teenage years, Robert dismissed it with a shrug. "He was a handful. I did what I had to do." That one remark explained everything. His son wasn't looking for perfection. He just needed acknowledgement. A simple, heartfelt, "I'm sorry I hurt you," could have changed the entire course of their relationship. Your children don't need you to carry guilt for past mistakes, but they do need to see that you're capable of growth, that their experiences matter to you even now. Age doesn't mean you've reached the end of your emotional development. In fact, the parents who remain closest to their adult children are often the ones who continue to grow emotionally, the ones who listen with empathy. They say things like, "Tell me more," or, "I didn't realize that hurt you. Thank you for sharing that with me." Taking responsibility in this way doesn't diminish your relationship. It strengthens it. The child who feels heard is the one who stays close. The one who feels safe enough to share difficult emotions is the one who will keep reaching out. It's never too late to mend the past. But in order to do that, you must first be willing to see and acknowledge the hurt that still lingers. The willingness to grow, to change, and to take ownership of the pain is a gift you can give, not just to your child but to yourself. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to subscribe and turn on the bell so you won't miss any of our future content. Your support helps us keep creating helpful and inspiring videos. Now let's continue. Number 5. Overstepping boundaries and undermining independence. One of the quickest ways to create emotional distance between you and your adult children is by crossing the boundaries they've tried, often gently but clearly, to set. It may start with the best of intentions. You ask about their marriage, offer advice about raising their kids, or show up unannounced, thinking it's just family. It's no big deal, right? But for your adult child, these actions don't feel like love. They can feel like an intrusion, an uninvited step into their carefully crafted world. Here's the truth: as your children grow older, they develop lives of their own. They build routines, form their own habits, develop values, and create ways of doing things that may be completely different from your own. They need to have the space to shape these things independently. And when you step in too far, when you tell them how to parent, how to manage their finances, or how often to visit, what may feel like helpful advice to you often feels to them like criticism, micromanaging, or a lack of trust. I remember hearing about Carol, a 70-year-old woman who truly meant well. During visits, she often offered to reorganize her daughter's kitchen, saying, "You'd be amazed at how much space you're wasting." Her daughter would smile politely, but eventually she started visiting less and less. Not because she didn't love her mother, but because every visit made her feel like she was regressing, like she was back to being a child in her mother's eyes, not an adult with her own life and choices. Boundaries are not a sign of rejection. They are, in fact, a way for adult children to protect their emotional peace. They are a critical part of maintaining healthy relationships. When these boundaries are respected, trust grows. But when they are ignored, sometimes in the smallest of ways, resentment can start to build. You might not even realize that you've crossed a line. For example, when your child says, "We can't make it this weekend," and your response is, "Well, I guess I'm not a priority." That kind of reply shows them that their time and decisions aren't being respected. Or when they say, "We'd rather not discuss that," and you push anyway, it tells them that their voice doesn't matter and their feelings are secondary. When adult children feel like their independence isn't being honored, they will start to create emotional space. Not out of anger, but out of a need for survival, preserving their autonomy and peace of mind. So, how do you fix this? The first step is simple: listen. Really listen to what they need and respect their boundaries when they set them. Don't take boundaries personally. See them as signs of a healthy, adult relationship. One that allows both people to thrive as individuals, while still nurturing a strong connection. If you're ever unsure where the line is, just ask. Questions like, is it okay if I offer some thoughts? Or, would you like me to help, or would you prefer I just listen? Show respect. These questions give your children the power to choose what kind of help, if any, they want from you. And that power to choose is what makes them feel safe and respected in the relationship. When you respect their space and listen to their needs, you show them that you honor their independence, and in doing so, you make room for a stronger, more trusting relationship with them. Number 6. Guilt tripping or emotional manipulation. No child grows up imagining that they will one day distance themselves from their parents. It's not a decision made in the heat of a dramatic argument. More often than not, the emotional distance that grows between parents and their adult children isn't the result of one big blowout. It's the slow, painful burn of emotional guilt that wears them down, day by day, conversation by conversation. It's the weight of a constant, subtle pressure that never lets them breathe freely. Guilt tripping doesn't announce itself in loud, confrontational ways. Instead, it sneaks into the quiet moments of everyday conversation. It might sound like, "I miss you," that gently shifts into, "You never call anymore." Or maybe, "I love to see you," becomes, "I guess I just don't matter to you like I used to." While these words might stem from a place of hurt and longing, over time, they can begin to feel less like an invitation for connection and more like a trap. For grown children, especially those juggling careers, marriages, or children of their own, the constant undertone of guilt can be suffocating. They start to feel like nothing they do is ever enough. Every visit feels like it comes with unspoken strings attached. Every phone call seems to end with an emotional toll that lingers. That emotional weight slowly adds up, and it begins to breed a sense of dread. It becomes something they start avoiding, until one day they stop calling altogether. Not because they don't care, but because caring has come to feel like it always carries a price. I remember David, a 68-year-old man who loved his daughter deeply. Every time she canceled a visit or arrived late, he would say things like, "I guess you've got more important people now." He believed he was being open and honest, but to her, it felt like punishment. Over time, the guilt he unconsciously placed on her led to exhaustion, and eventually she stopped visiting, not out of anger but simply because the emotional burden was too much to bear. Here's the painful irony: guilt is often wielded by those who feel unloved, who fear they are losing their connection. But the effect of guilt is the opposite of what they intend. Instead of drawing people closer, it pushes them further away. Adult children don't want to be needed out of obligation, they want to be wanted. They want to feel like their presence is a joy, not a source of disappointment. When they don't feel that, they start to protect themselves. Sometimes this protection looks like short, impersonal text. Other times it shows up as complete silence. If you've noticed your children pulling away, take a moment to reflect. Have I been using guilt to try to draw them closer? Have I made them feel guilty for living their own lives? Have my words come from a place of longing, or from a desire to control? There is a big difference between sharing your feelings honestly and using those feelings as leverage. One invites connection and understanding, the other drains both. True love creates a space where others can breathe. And if you truly want your adult children to come closer, make sure that your love feels like a safe, welcoming place they can rest in, not an emotional weight they feel they have to carry. Final thoughts. Navigating the evolving relationship with adult children can be a delicate and complex journey. As parents, it's natural to want to be involved in your child's life, to offer advice, help, and support. However, it's important to recognize that these relationships require mutual respect, understanding, and emotional maturity from both sides. Adult children still crave love and connection, but they also need space to grow, make their own decisions, and most importantly, feel heard and valued. By being aware of the subtle ways we may unintentionally create distance, Whether through guilt, overstepping boundaries, chronic criticism, taking support for granted, or avoiding past hurts, we can take steps toward healing and deepening our connections. The key is to create a space of empathy, where we acknowledge our mistakes, show gratitude for their support, and offer them the room to be their authentic selves. It's never too late to make changes, to learn, to grow, and to show your adult children that you're still invested in nurturing a healthy, supportive relationship. Ultimately, these efforts not only strengthen your bond with them but also provide a foundation of trust and love that can withstand the challenges of any stage of life. Remember, relationships with adult children aren't about perfection. They're about presence, understanding, and the willingness to adapt and grow together. Keep listening, keep learning, and keep loving. The love and connection you nurture today can continue to flourish for years to come.